Hey everybody, Daniel here, just doing a quick tutorial on ProPresenter. This is the new software that's going to be taking over Easyworship. And just note this is on my home system, so things might look a little bit different when we're at church, but hopefully you get the general idea as to what's going on. The computer also that we're going to be on most likely is going to be a Mac very soon. So there's not a lot of differences between a Mac and a PC. If you're not familiar with a Mac, there's a couple keys that are a little bit different, like the command key and stuff, but we'll get you up to speed on that when that need arises. In the meantime, I just want to go over kind of what the differences are between Easyworship and ProPresenter. If you look, and I'll kind of show you the layout of this program. If you look in the top left corner, we have our library, and it has a place for a playlist. Library is kind of like your main database of songs and elements that you're going to be throwing into your playlist, which is kind of like your schedule in Easyworship. So a playlist might be named something like January 29th um, Sunday or something, and that would have all of your elements for that particular day. And let me just show you an example. So this would be like a playlist that maybe Christian or someone might have put together for us, or if you want to put together one, just note that this would be where you would kind of lay out all the songs. And I'll go back to this default one, which is blank, just to kind of show you what that might look like. So to begin with, if I went to the song database again, which is just kind of like my pool of things that I can grab from, typically it'd be songs. In this case, it's got some extra junk in here because it's a sample file from ProPresenter, but normally it'd just be music. And I can see there's Waymaker, Nothing Else, Good Grace, and Another in the Fire. And I'm just kind of clicking in between them, and I'm just going to drag them into the default playlist. And now they're all inside of there. I could have done dragging one at a time as well. But now that's in my schedule, and this is the order of the songs that I have listed for this particular schedule. And Christian would probably normally make a little header and call these like worship or songs of some or something of that sort, and then we would make another one for announcements and messages to kind of break things up and organize things. And I can rearrange that too. But anyways, that's how you make a playlist of the order of the elements in a given service. And if I just click on the first one, you'll see I have like a media element. And your media files, that's that little, your graphic up here. You can find them down at the bottom where it says media. I can see right now I've got some video files. If I just drag and drop one onto that first song, it's going to apply that for every slide after that media file. So they say they're kind of made like layers. So you just put down a media layer, and then your text layer is going to be on top of it. And you can see over here on this side, you can actually turn off your slide layer just by clicking that. And that's kind of like this clear screen on Easyworship. If I click it back on, though, it won't come back. You have to actually double click on a particular text for it to pop back up. It does have a clear all, so that would clear out both the slide and the media. So if we did that, it would go to black. So that's the same thing as going to black on Easyworship. Again, you can't just click it to bring it back, though. You actually have to click on an element. So at the beginning of this song, if I clicked on it, that's how we'd bring that back up. Some other differences here. There's really a lot of differences, but one, for example, if you need to bring in a song, again, hopefully we'll be doing this beforehand, so I don't want to get too much in the weeds of how to do this, but if you ever went to search, ideally, and I'm not connected to Song Select, which is an online service for pulling in music, but on our systems at the church we should be, and if you were just to put in a song like Holy Holy Holy, you would probably find a bunch of different versions of Holy Holy Holy. You would find the one that you need for the service, and you can basically right click on it and import it in to your schedule here, and you could bring it into the library and also into your playlist at one time. I can't show you that right now because I'm not on there, but do note there's also a way of importing by clipboard. So if you were going online, you copied the text and all the lyrics on a particular song. And then just for example, if I did that here, I could basically paste the text in, and it would give us an option to break up the lines and make a specific look for that particular slide. And Christian will have some themes that he's already made, and we'll touch base with you on that later if need be. But for the most part, just know that there are ways of bringing stuff in if needed, but we'll try to take care of that ahead of time. So moving on, just want to cover more of the basics of this. Again, it is very different. So say we're going through this song, it's not something where you can just kind of copy and paste things easily in a edit view like on Easyworship. They use arrangements, and it's kind of based off of a grouping system. So right now, this particular song is in order of verse, chorus, verse 2, chorus 2, tag, bridge, verse 3, and chorus 3. So normally what you do is you grab one of these guys and kind of rearrange it by grouping, not by copying and pasting groups of text like we have in the past. But do note that there's also another designation that it has for any given song, and a lot of times it will default to master, and you can't really, you can, but it's you don't normally rearrange a master arrangement. You would typically make your own arrangement or use a predefined arrangement that someone else has made. So if I knew that I was going to need to be changing the order of any of this stuff, which most likely this is not going to be in perfect order when we start a song, I would need to go to new arrangement, and I'm just going to call this one, what is this song? Another in the Fire. And you can, again, name things differently, but let's just say that this is a version and a layout that Pam uses, and maybe Matt or Arturo or the high school uses a different order of verse, chorus, verse for a particular song. But we can save different instances of that song for the individual worship leaders. And you'll notice as soon as I do that, it's called its own version of this arrangement now, and we can actually move things around. So say for example on this one, maybe Pam goes through the verse twice. So instead of copying all this text, what we do is just we grab that verse 1 grouping and put it right after it. So it's kind of nice that you can just kind of quickly drag things in the order that you need. And you also note that there's like these little shortcut hotkeys. So A would be like verse 1, C would be chorus, and S is the verse 2, and so on. So you can kind of see here that they've got different shortcut keys, and where that comes into play is if for whatever reason, hopefully you never have to use them, but most likely sometime there will be, if you hear in the song that there's something out of alignment and you need to go back to the chorus, or maybe Pam cues you to go back to the chorus, what you can do is just actually hit the C key. So say I'm down here on this one, I'm on like verse 2, third, or probably makes sense it'd be if it was at the end of this one, and then say that she wanted to go back to chorus 1. If I just hit C, it just pops back up to chorus really quickly. So a quick way to jump into places. But again, ideally we're not going to be jumping around. We're just going to be going linearly from slide to slide. And that being said, that is another difference in ProPresenter. It wants you to go left to right, and you can use the right arrow key to kind of go from one slide to another, or you can just click on each slide to activate it, or you can hit spacebar. There's a few ways of doing it, but one way that won't work is the down arrow key. And we're used to in Easyworship a lot of times hitting the down arrow key to go to the next song or the next slide. If I do that here, it's actually going to change to the next song. It's not going to go to the next slide, so that's a big problem. So I just pressed up again to go back up to the next song. So that's just something you need to be aware of. Regarding changing things, there's a quick way of editing, but it's not very flexible. So say for example, if there was a misspelling here, if I right clicked and did quick edit, I can do a quick little spelling fix. Let's just say it was there is a grace. Okay, good. But do note that anytime you change anything, which can be again a good thing or a bad thing, so I changed it, there is a grace on this verse 1. Any instance of verse 1 in this schedule is going to change. So I changed it here, and it also changed it on this slide as well. So if there is differences between the different slides that need to be con, basically if they are actually different, that's going to be a problem, because every time you change one, it's going to change the other. And what you'll need to do is actually make a new grouping out of this, and that's sometimes a little bit trickier. It's easier said than done. And I'm new to this too, and if you guys find other ways of doing this, feel free to chime in and let everyone know. But one way of going about changing things is using the reflow editor. And that's a good way too if you needed to like break up lines or add things. If you notice, let's see, these all kind of work fine because I don't see any like weird formatting. But let's just say that there was uh, a case here at this ending slide on course 3 where we wanted to have another line break here, and we just wanted these to be split up. If I hit Control Enter, or I think it's actually Option Enter on a Mac, in between these two lines, kind of like in Easyworship, it will break the line for us. So now these are, I don't know if you can see here, but they're two different slides basically, where they were once one slide. And one thing you can do is right click on any one of these and group them differently if you needed to. So let's just say if I needed to make a change and I wanted this to be, I don't know, let's just call this a tag, because maybe this is one that they repeat sometimes when they go through course 3, but some other times they don't actually use this line. That would be one way to keep it so that I have all of course 3 still intact, but it doesn't copy over this line every single time if needed. I know that's going to be a little bit tricky. I get confused just trying to explain it and whatnot, and I probably am still going to have some problems getting my brain wrapped around on it. So hopefully we'll have more time on Saturdays and Sundays to just get all of this arrangement and everything perfectly laid out. But do know there is going to be times on Sundays where things are going to have to change, and we're just going to have to get things figured out as best we can on here. I'm going to go back to the show view. So right now we were in reflow. And one thing about reflow, though, before I get out of it, you might say, oh, well, that looks kind of like the song editor in Easyworship, and normally I could just like copy a bunch of lines and then paste it down below. It's not going to work like that, because again, they're still in like the groupings, and it's not going to probably play the way that you want in terms of copying and pasting lines. So going to have to retrain our brains a little bit, but I'm sure there's a way of getting it done that may even be more elegant than this, but that's the only way that I know of right now. So right now I'm just going to go back to the show option, which is where most everything is again related when we're doing our presentations. And one note about this, if you didn't kind of connect the dots here, this is kind of your output screen. I know we can't really see an output screen right now on mine, but this would be what's going out to the projection. And in the future, we're probably going to have a stage screen for the worship team, and that would be slightly different than what we're actually projecting on the main audience screens. So do note that there is a way of kind of previewing different monitors at different times if needed. But and if you're not seeing what you're expecting to see here, who knows, maybe something got bumped and got changed. So just make sure you're on probably screen one, I'm guessing is what it'll be called. But again, until we get these connected up to the new machines, I won't really know what the naming convention is. That's probably, let's see, I'm going to look over notes to make sure there isn't anything else that we need. Oh, one note, it is really tough to just learn all this too in the few hours that we have on Sundays. So if you guys do have a Mac or a PC, feel free to Google ProPresenter 7 and download the demo. That's just what I have here. It's free in the demo mode. It will have like a little watermark screen that pops up if we were just like projecting this. But in terms of the layout and getting used to the interface, that's a great way to get caught up sooner rather than later. And we're going to try and move to this, yeah, as soon as we can. So we've got the machines in and we've got ProPresenter. So as soon as we're caught up, we're going to be moving over. And hopefully, yeah, it won't be too much growing pains on it. But I don't think there's too much more to say. I think the rest of this is probably self-intuitive. Let me just bump back over to the sample playlist because that will be something that's again kind of close to what we have maybe on a normal Sunday. But you can see here on pre-show there'd be a place for like announcements, and you'll see there'd be kind of like our PowerPoint slides in the past, and an option for a countdown, and there's our music layout, and again kind of like your presentation or our message would be down here for any slides that might be pertaining to it. So hopefully it's kind of making sense. There's other things I didn't really touch on much, like the transitions and everything like that. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Christian, and we'll try to get you up to speed as fast as we can. All right. Well, thank you for your time. And yeah, email me if you need anything. All right. Goodbye.